So, Esther. Kind of ironic with what's going in Iran right now. Anyway, it starts with this big party in Persia where Xerxes kicks out one of his queens. And yes, I did say one. This isn't the High Queen. That's why it's not recorded in history, or we don't have many documents about Esther in history, because the persons wouldn't care about some random event around a low-level queen. Sorry, that's what Esther was. Anyway, yes, King Xerxes, which is actually the same guy who invaded Greece, during the 300. So yeah, Matt, the guy wearing all this chain stuff. Yeah, Matt. That is not historically accurate. He never wore that. But anyway, so yes, he gets drunk and wants one of his queens. Of course, they had many wives back then, and it would still be queen because they're married to the king. To come out and display herself. She doesn't. He gets mad. Kicks her out. I actually played this part in a little state production we did, and I got ripped. So much so the person's like, dude, the girl who was playing the queen was like, what? No, this is acting. Whoa. So anyway, Esther's then made queen after like a beauty contest. Mordecai uncovered this conspiracy and that's Esther's uncle. Yes, Mordecai is a Hebrew name. He's the one who's tells Esther to keep the fact that she's a Jew secret. And then he found out about an assassination plot for Xerxes and told Esther. Then we get the main villain in chapter 3, where Haman has a plot to destroy the Jews because he just kind of was jealous of Mordecai in a way. So yeah, he tried to do that. Then Mordecai persuades Esther to help. Esther's a little afraid because if you go up to the king, and he doesn't extend his staff rod he holds to you, you're dead. It doesn't matter who you are. You're dead. Yes. So yes, and then we get the closest thing we got to a reference to God in the entire book. In verse 13, he sent back this answer: "Do not think that because you are in the king's house, that you alone of all the Jews will escape." In 14, "For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish, and who knows but that you have come to royalty position for such a time as this." Yeah. Maybe you're in this position because God wants you to be. Who knows? Maybe. for doing something great. But yeah, don't think not doing it, something big and scary, will save you. Because it won't. But notice, there is no mention of God. So what does Esther do? She fasts for 3 days. Specifically, do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. Okay, 3 days, right? And here's how we find out that's a Jewish idiom. And Jesus did not contradict anything. There's no special thing that, like, Passover that happened on Thursday. No, it's a Jewish idiom. Why? Because the very next passage, it's the start of chapter 5. On the 3rd day, Esther put on her royal robe and stood in the inner court of the palace in front of the king's hall. The very next day, on the 3rd day. So it's a Jewish idiom. And that's just what it is. Unless you want it to be a contradiction for some bizarre reason. That's not the only place it's a Jewish idiom. Inspired Philosophy has like some videos on this. Of course, My Queen and Ancient Egypt and the Bible have question and answer sessions. So, yeah, anyway. Now, the thing about chapter 5 is some Jews, not all of them, but some will say that I think it's Psalm 23, I don't remember, like, my God, why have you forsaken me, Psalm? Yes, I remember it more by its beginning than its actual number, because that's how I remember it, things in the Bible. I remember it the Jewish way more than I remember the chapter and verses, which is ironic. Chapter and verses, chapter 23 is, Psalm 23 is the Lord is my shepherd. Okay. It's Psalm 22. Yes. Let's say Psalm 22 is Esther's prayer as she goes through the hallways of the palace with all these idols of gods on all the sides of the walls and saying that's the valley of the shadow of death. There's one big problem with this. Persia, modern day Iran, it's monotheistic, just like Israel, Zoroastrianism. You know, there's the idea that there's this ultimate good God, and he's fighting this manifestation of ultimate evil, and ultimately evil will win in the end. There's some vague similarities. That doesn't mean anything, especially since Zoroastrianism hasn't actually been written down what they have believed until like really recently. So anyway, I bet you can find actually. Yeah, if you have any Christian out there has good resources on the problems with Zoroastrianism, put them in the comments. Anyway, yeah, but it's a monotheistic religion. So why on earth would the king's palace have a bunch of gods on the walls that the king didn't believe in? Yeah, that theory has several problems. So she goes in and has this elaborate idea of wanting to bring Haman in for a banquet. So, yes, then they come in banquet. Haman was happy and high spirits, but when he saw Mordecai, he was angry. So his wife and his friends said to him, "Have a gallows built," and this is translated gallows, but no, that's not how the Persians killed somebody. How they killed somebody, they would take a sharp stick and shove it up your your butt. Yes. Slowly too. Very, very slowly. So that had a banquet, he built the thing, and that night the king could not sleep. Then asked why. So, who's there for king honor? Then Haman asked, like, why are you bringing me here? What should be done for the man the king delights to honor? The king Xerxes said. Haman thinking, oh, this is me. Who is there that the king would rather honor than me? He thought to himself. For the man the king delights to honor, have them bring a royal robe on the king has worn, and a house the king had, and a horse the king has ridden on, one with a royal crest on its head. Then let the robe and horse be entrusted to one of the king's most noble princes. Let the robe man the king delights to honor, and lead him on the horse throughout the city streets, proclaiming before him, the king, this is what done for the man the king delights to honor. So he go at once and go do it for Mordecai. And Haman is probably standing there like, what? So Haman got the robe and the horse, and he rode Mordecai and led him throughout the city street. Oh, Haman is not having a good day, but it's going to get a whole lot worse. After he returned to where Mordecai went to see Gay, Haman rushed home. So then Haman went to dine with Queen Esther again, and we're drinking. And then Esther decides to reveal Haman's plot. And I can imagine at this point Haman, when he hears that Esther is a Jew, just go, oh shit. And then his order of hanging on it. And yeah, there's also this scene where like Haman hangs a ring, or gets handed a ring. So how we played this, like the guy just like gave me a ring secretly, then I gave it back, and we just like shrugged each other. Weird. That was a fun time. Anyway, yes. So Haman built this gallows, this thing, to be a death for Mordecai. But instead, it was his own destruction. Satan made the cross for torture, to bring his own evil about. But it was used for his own destruction. Because the death of Christ on the cross and his resurrection was a defeat for Satan, not a victory. So then Esther gets the king to make a verdict that the Jews can defend themselves from this attempt at genocide. The Jews triumph. And then over their people, then Purim, a Jewish holiday that's not mentioned in the book of the law. Search Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, and Leviticus. I forgot Leviticus. I forgot Leviticus there. You will not find it. Not a single word about Purim. It's a holiday made way after the books of the Pentateuch are written, and way after most of the books of the Bible are written. And the events took place in Persia. Yes. So, what does that say about Christmas and Easter? There is nothing in the Bible that says humans can't make up their own holiday to celebrate something God has done for them. Nothing. You're not being more holy. You're not being closer to God. You're just doing something the Pharisees did. That's exactly what you're doing. There's nothing pagan about Christmas and Easter. Christmas is the celebration of Jesus coming down to earth and the celebration of the incarnation. Easter is the celebration of his conquering of death and his resurrection. It's that simple. It's that simple. That's what they're about. So, then we have the book of the Annals of the Media in Persia. Yeah, we don't have that book anymore. Oh well. Orkai being assaulted. What was meant for a death for him was the death of his enemy. So, that's the book of Esther. Next up is the book of Job. I wonder if anyone pronounces it Job. The book of Job. Just say Job. That would be funny. Anyway, see you then. You can watch my other stuff. It should be appearing on the screen somewhere around here. That is all for now. Next Saturday there will be, of course, more. Please pray for Iran. It really, really needs it. It's currently fighting against a force of pure evil and for its freedom. Yeah. See you next Saturday.